Participants. We'll start the webinar. Start. Joe, how do I pronounce your last name?
Spiewak.
Spiewak. And Thompson.
Thompson.
Thompson, yep. Spiewak. Spiewak. Got it. Okay. All right. All right, looks like we've got some people coming into the room. Hi, everybody. As you come into the room, I am going to be turning on the streaming processes. So let me get those all going. Let's see, we're going to go to Procurement Foundry LinkedIn. We're going to go to Procurement Foundry Twitter. And we're also going to go to the Procurement Foundry Facebook page, which gets the least amount of traffic of all of our social platforms. So hi, everybody. Mike Cadieux, as always, yet another exciting event for us as we kick off our 2022 season. This one is near and dear to my heart. And the reason why is because, as most of you know, I spent about 18 years procuring and focusing on technology related sourcing and indirect spend. And we have one of our first technology related business partners and Procurement Foundry partners, permanent residence partners of Procurement Foundry for 2022 in ParkPlace. ParkPlace I know very, very well. They've been a client of mine in the past. I'm super excited to have them now as a client of Procurement Foundry and as a thought leader in a number of different areas, which I think is really, really interesting. I think a lot of the technologists and CIOs that are members of Procurement Foundry are going to find this amazingly interesting in the breadth of the different types of business and lines of business that ParkPlace has been putting together for years. I've known ParkPlace for probably 10 or 15 years. And I'm joined today by two subject matter experts from ParkPlace, Joe Spiewak. Joe, I didn't pronounce that correct, even though I practiced in the pre-run. I'm sorry. Joe and Sachi Thompson. And I don't know if I pronounced that correctly either. I apologize. My last name gets butchered every day, so I apologize. So let's get started. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. As most of you probably know, we are streaming in the registration inside of Zoom here. If you want to use the chat to say hello to everybody inside of Zoom, where you're coming in from, if you're in the Zoom session, if you've got questions, you can use the Q&A functionality inside, or you can just drop it in chat. Either way, I try to monitor that. We are streaming LinkedIn Live, so hello to everybody on LinkedIn Live as well. Tina is in the background. She just told me that we are live on LinkedIn Live, so I'm excited that that technology is working. And also, if you are on LinkedIn Live and not in the Zoom room, you can still ask questions of Joe and Sachi. Just ask them, and Tina will transfer them in for us, and so that we get interaction from around the globe, and we get interaction from inside of the room as well. Hello from Dubai. Hello from everywhere, where everybody is. So, okay. So that said, let's cut to the chase. ParkPlace, interested to do this. I don't usually do introductions. I let our talent do introductions. So Joe and Sachi, why don't we start with ladies first? Sachi, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, about your role at ParkPlace and Curvature, and a little bit about the company, that would be great as well, because I know how in-depth all this is.
Thank you so much, Michael. Hello, everybody. My name is Sachi Thompson. I'm the general manager of the hardware division. ParkPlace Technologies acquired us in November of 2020, so we're fairly new, or 2021, excuse me, fairly new to the ParkPlace brand. However, the Curvature Hardware business has been around for 35 years. We specialize in pre-owned hardware that we resell, all the OEM brands, and really provide an opportunity for our customers to really extend, one, the life cycle of their assets through maintenance, which is nice that we're partnered with ParkPlace on that side, but more importantly, help them manage and innovate their technology the way they need to, with a different strategy, including us into that mix. I've been with the company for 15 years and really excited to be here to answer any questions around supply chain. As you know, it's a hot topic and has been all of 2021, and definitely seeing it continuing through 2022. Joe, would you like to take your introduction?
Sure, thanks.
Go ahead,
Sachi,
Joe. Tell us who
thanks.
you are and what you do.
All right, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Sachi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webcast today. My name is Joe Spiewak. I'm responsible for supply chain and logistics for the TPM side of ParkPlace Technologies. I've been in the industry a long time. I'm not telling you how long. I know I look 20, but I'm a little older than that. It's been quite a while. With ParkPlace as well, it's been an enjoyable time. You know, we've, as Sachi said, we just acquired Curvature, the Curvature TPM business, as well as the hardware business. So it's been an exciting, year and a half for us together as a company. And as you can see by the slide, Park Place Technologies is not just your, I think, Mike, you referred to it as not your grandfather's Buick. It's more of a company that has a portfolio to offer. Today, we're going to talk about two of those pieces of the portfolio, but we also have, a professional services organization, ParkView Managed Services, and Entuity Software for monitoring and analytics on your network platform. So I'll kick it back to Mike and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think probably the most interesting part for me is just the expansion of the company. And I've got the slide up for a second. I just wanted to let it run. Is you started, I think Park Place for me traditionally started with hardware maintenance, third-party support. I was trying to offset my Cisco SMARTnet or anything I could get my hands on, right, to lower costs. And then obviously that leads into professional services and monitoring and managed services associated with data centers and things like that. And then the analytics software that comes and layers on top. So all of it to me seems very, very logical and just keeps layering on more value to the client population. And then obviously the last piece of the puzzle with Curvature, it just, to me, just makes absolutely normal sense that you would be in the hardware space. Reclamation and then redistribution, to me, just makes perfectly logical sense based on everything else that you do. Yep. So thrilled to see that, and also thrilled to share with everybody that, hey, listen, this isn't your uncle's Buick, right? Like we talked about. So the topic for today, by the way, just so that you know, is IT procurement strategies for managing tech supply chain issues, right? And who better to have this conversation than Park Place and talk about what they're seeing? Because let's be honest, they're knee deep in the supply chain, whether that is helping people to offset their costs. Helping people to offset their maintenance costs, or helping them to manage their services and their data centers and their monitoring and support. And then also what the heck to do with this software. I'm assuming what to do with the hardware at the beginning of the whole process on the dismount when you're refreshing and things like that. But now all of a sudden it's, hey, when you're getting rid of it, we'll take it, we can refurb it because there's a traditional secondary market. And in the supply chain issues have caused the secondary markets to now become almost the primary market. Mm-hmm. And I see Sachi shaking her head. So why don't we talk about a little bit about that? Why don't we start with, the fact that you're in such a unique place. Let's talk about what you're seeing in the marketplace right now from a supply chain perspective associated with hardware. And if we could go from laptops and desktops all the way up to routers, switches, and edge devices, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We started to see, as you know, with the microchip and semiconductor shortage that we saw at the beginning of 2021, right? As the world kind of closed down in 2020 with the pandemic, we spent most of our time just getting our customers stabilized and set up to be remote. We really saw a lot of the refresh cycles that we see our customers do and invest in their environments. They put those on hold, just kind of waiting through what the pandemic would look like. In the first quarter of 2021, we started to see some unique things that we actually haven't seen in about 25 years in the supply chain. And that was the OEMs were starting to quote interesting lead times right out of the gate. So a lot of the new edge equipment was quoting 90 days, 100 days, but then June would roll around and they were saying, okay, not until the end of the year. And then really where we saw a massive crunch for our customers was all in Q4. Technically, a lot of these customers were promised equipment, promised gear, couldn't get it. Luckily, we have it. We have about $40 million of supply chain inventory that we hold and keep. We've been in this space for 30 years. We really are a very strong, viable partner for our customers. But what we saw in 2021 was customers who typically wouldn't even consider pre-owned, who just really were strongly in bed with the OEM, and that's their kind of modus of that's how they work and that's how they support their business. What we've been really excited about is bringing these customers to us because of the need to simply just get things done. We've had hospitals that needed infrastructure done, a lot of pent-up demand in the retail and e-commerce space, data centers needing just compute and storage and capability that they couldn't get from the OEM. We're still seeing these lead times now almost 6 months out for certain product categories, now even through the end of or middle of next year, or this year, excuse me. And that's really been a huge win for us, coupled with all of the logistics delays, right? Border entry closures, not being able to get things in and out. We're now seeing, shortages on all types of things, boxes, cardboard, silicone gel, glue, like just overall production and supply chain has definitely hampered the situation. And so I think what's really been great for Curvature is this pent up demand, us having the inventory, and then really being able to be a provider for our customers. And then coupled with being part of ParkPlace and having them have the wrapper of maintenance, monitoring, and all of the other managed solutions, it really reassures the customer that what they're buying is a full solution, very similar to what the OEM is offering. In fact, sometimes a little bit better, because we know the value we add and we know kind of the relationship we're bringing forward, and it's at a very incredible discount, typically around 55 to 90% off list of what they're usually used to seeing. And so that's what's been really great for us in 2021, and really seeing that come through 2022 as well.
Wow, those are big numbers. I want to go back to the supply chain thing for a second. It scares the heck out of me to think that a lack of glue is going to stop my network refresh project for the year dead in its tracks.
It's just,
but unfortunately, that's a reality, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's in all verticals of business, right? You're seeing it in, just wine distribution and, not being able to supply alcohol, right? Because they don't have enough glass, and they don't have the bottles, and they don't have the labels. And that's been what's really interesting. I'm a, by nature and trade, I am a supply chain leader. And so this is really a first, right? Having manufactured products for over 25 years myself, and in industries, we've never seen all of these things kind of happen at the same time, which really has exacerbated the issue, which has been great for us. We've been able to support our customers, give them a solution, allow them to do all the things they need to, and really take first-time customers and make them raving fans, which makes us excited. And it's really now part of their strategy. It's not just a moment where they need a Band-Aid solution. They're really seeing ParkPlace and Curvature and what they're able to be, what they're capable of doing, which is really great.
So Joe, I mean, for those of us that are the 20-somethings in the room, I mean, this isn't something we've had to deal with in the past. I mean, I could buy equipment and usually have it shipped in from a warehouse somewhere regionally in almost no time, right? I mean, I think the longest I ever waited for equipment on a real big order was about 30 days. And now, now there's these circumstances beyond your control, which are causing you to not be able to deliver. And the one thing that procurement people don't want to do is they don't want to, I mean, tech sourcing people don't want to do, is they don't want to be seen as a hindrance at the speed of business against their IT operations. Any thoughts on what Sachi said and what you're seeing in the supply chain space as well?
Yeah, well, thanks, Mike. I would go back to, I think between, November, maybe October of 1999 and January of 2000, we may have seen some delays because of the turn of the century procurement challenges that were happening. But I haven't seen anything since then that's been this bad. And one of the things that's amazing to me is, as Sachi pointed out, it's across the spectrum. So you could almost trust nothing in the supply chain today. You get a commitment from a vendor, and before you know it, that commitment just doesn't exist anymore, because through no fault of their own, they can't unload a ship off the shores of California. They can't get they can't get material to pack and ship with. And these are the times when the procurement side, to keep the speed of business going, has to be nimble and agile, and also worry about what you're paying for things. So, in our business, we've seen, speaking of cardboard, right, we ship 8,000 to 10,000 packages a month to support our customers. We've had to go, 3 or 4 deep in suppliers to just make sure we have enough boxes and foam, styrofoam, foam packing material. We never thought we'd run out of that. Again, we had to go to multiple vendors. You always have to be proactive. I've spent more time on the phone with vendors, signing up new vendors and working with them to understand how I can have an A, a B, a C, and a D plan. Even from our business perspective, we had a business continuance plan, but I can tell you when COVID hit, we had to expand that immensely and pretty quickly. So the supply chain challenges are numerous. And just when you think you've got it figured out, another curveball comes at you. It's kind of like driving on the slippery roads of Boston in the middle of winter. You never know when an icy patch is going to make you go off a little bit sideways, and you have to deal with it.
Yeah, It's the black ice that you don't see in the supply chain right now, right?
Right?
Maybe we
Exactly.
can start to coin that, which is the supply chain black ice, the things that you don't, I mean, for everything you know, there's the underlying black ice that you don't know. Let's talk a little bit about the IT organizations and the procurement professionals that unfortunately, this is their job. They have to figure out a way. So what are they starting to do? What are they starting to do to offset the fact that they've got these issues? Because I mean, they've got a company to keep operating. They got to keep the lights blinking in the data center. They've got to keep the edge routers, up and running. I see the question from from LinkedIn around security patches and updating maintenance and how to get around that from the refurbished argument discussion and acquisition of refurbished. We'll probably talk on that in a little bit. I just want to make sure I tell everybody that I see it. But let's talk a little bit about what you're seeing. So, our equipment life cycle starting to change.
Yes.
Are there other strategies that some of your clientele is starting to deploy? I'll start with Sachi, but then we'll go to Joe.
Yeah, no, definitely what we're seeing, and it's different in the enterprise space and the SMB space. So let's just focus solely on the enterprise, right? Because they're typically used to a 3-year refresh cycle. They have them planned out. They know exactly how it's working. They've got their production environments and then the redundancy environments. What we're really coming into is we're actually going in and supporting and delivering goods on their production environments. And we always have, I mean, we cover 3/4 of the Fortune 500 customers. They've been longstanding customers for us, but it's always been an and relationship with the OEM and us. So we were always a good supplement to the business. Now we're their primary provider. I've seen a couple interesting things where Cisco's allowing for recertification on products, right? You're seeing large manufacturers like Dell and HP work things through their refurb channels to have them kind of pick up through us, see what we can do to support them too. And we do an augmented offering to our customers. We are not an authorized partner, but that's by choice, right? So that our whole job is that we're taking 30 years of supply chain knowledge and vendor management, and a lot of our goods are coming directly from our customers. So what we're doing is assessing their environment, saying, hey, you may want to keep these longer. These are workhorses. There's no issue here. We'll make sure the iOS is up to date, but Joe's team will cover them under maintenance. And then we'll really focus on kind of the innovation stack that you need to focus on for the year, get those goods out, work as a relationship with the OEM and with us, and we'll get you something there. Some of us, sometimes they're using us as a bridge, right? They're just bringing gear in because it's so affordable and they need to do what they need to, and they'll still wait for that order to come in. Albeit, interestingly enough, they'll still use that gear as a redundancy scenario for them too. And so we're seeing those kinds of behaviors that are unique and different, Michael, that, in the past, we'd have a client who'd use us, but it would be, hey, we want you to get all of our optics. So we'll get our memory from you, right? From a high production run rate. Now we're selling our core switches and blades into these customer environments because of the need and the demand that's required right now. The other thing too, that our IT, what I'm hearing is they're overpaying for products. So whatever is out there, it's usually 3x to market, which that isn't good for anyone, right? Because the demand is so powerful right now. We're seeing fluctuations in price move week by week, which is also another differentiator and difference in the space than we've seen in the past. So we're seeing, pre-owned gear going for more than list. And so that really is where, a partnership with us and maintenance really helps offset kind of the expense and what it takes to make these things possible for the customer. And so when they come to us, we're really coming with a financial and technical solution to optimize.
That's really interesting that what I'm seeing in the used car and the new car market is playing itself out in the tech equipment space as well. I got a phone call the other day. I got an automobile on lease and somebody called me up and said, hey, I'll buy out your lease and pay you back what you gave us originally. I just need inventory to sell, right? And it's because of the chip shortages that Joe mentioned earlier and things that are happening at the beginning of the supply chain that are now causing the warehouse depletions. Joe, interesting play though, right? Is, okay, so I'm in this position, the lead times are much more expensive. It's going to blow up my budget. The IT, the CIO, office of the CIO is like, what are you talking about? I got to go back and ask for 40% more. And all of a sudden, hey, I have routers that are 5 years old, or equipment that's on the desktop that's 3.5, 4 years old. But you're saying is, hey, listen, yes, there's supply chain issues in maintenance and support of equipment and the products that they need to keep these things up and running, you're sourcing those for your clientele, right? But is it cheaper to, in the problems that's happening in the supply chain, is it cheaper to, okay, listen, I'm just going to deal with the supply chain issues of the parts as opposed to the whole, and because of that, I'm going to deploy Joe's strategy, and I'm going to go to Joe where he can manage my parts, even though he's dealing with the same problems that I would. It alleviates some of the pain of a complete forklift upgrade and changeover.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So one of the beauties of coming to Park Place for maintenance is that, you know, your problems go away and you make them my problem. So, you know, from that perspective, your equipment needs to keep running. We're going to make sure it keeps running. You know, actions we've taken to make sure that as a company, we can continue to service our customers in the way that they expect to be serviced. We made a significant investment over 21, adding to inventory. We added about 30% to our inventory in terms of dollars. We've increased our footprint in warehousing across the globe. So we've maintained, because of some of the COVID challenges, you know, in the APAC region, for example, our main hub was in Malaysia, but we've also added Singapore, because if a lockdown occurs in Malaysia, we can't get things through customs. We pivot to Singapore. We'll come through Singapore, or, you know, as we stock equipment there, we need to make sure that we keep as many different avenues open that we probably wouldn't have had to worry about, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, because it would have been fine getting through any of the given locations. And in terms of costs going up, you know, going to a TPM is usually a 30, 40, 50% discount over the OEM. So you take advantage of that. And then if you have to pay a little bit more to sort of build out rather than build up, meaning refresh, you know, you've got that budget headroom to do that. The last thing any business wants to hear is, oh, I've got to come back again and hit you for an increase in budget because the cost of cardboard went up 5 times in 2021, or, you know, the cost of spray foam, which we pack parts in, has gone up so much that in fact, in some cases you can't even get it. And so all of those cost increases, of course, none of that's passed through to our customers. We have to hedge our bets, and, you know, your contract is a fixed contract. It's not going to go up. So as I said, the advantage of coming to Park Place is you make those supply chain challenges our supply chain challenges. And, you know, between Sachi and I, we'll figure it out.
I think one thing too, Michael, I want to raise that Joe just brings up a good point is everyone knows there's a pre-owned space. Everyone knows there's a third-party space. But what's different is that Park Place and Curvature are a very large and global brand, right? We're in 160 countries. Just the hardware division alone, we have staff all over. We have 11, you know, different offices where we're selling and talking in the language of our customers. We know the markets in and out. We know the compliance and regulations in and out. Joe's responsibility is over 2 million assets under support in 160 countries, being able to deliver 4-hour service and uptime. When you're saying an IT leader is dealing with, you know, offloading some of the components and how does he deal with it, you want a partner like Park Place and Joe. So who's dealing with thousands of drives of that same style and type that's moving all over the world, and volume really matters, right? Breadth and reach as a customer brand really matters. What we're really seeing is you don't want to trust something like this with a small shop that just does the Southeast. You need to work with somebody who knows the market. We've both been in business for over 30 years. We're the largest investor in our space. And so when a customer is coming to us and needing a solution, they're going to get the same pre-owned solution for a box in all regions. I've got distribution centers in Asia and in Europe and in the US. I have supply chain controls and buying in all of those markets. I know the market. We've been around the market. We're testing. All of our equipment has a lifetime warranty, and that's best effort. And if not, then it goes under Joe's umbrella. And so I think really what's been important for the brand over this last year is as customers are moving away from an OEM strategy because they have no choice, really finding someone like that knows it just as well as they do, that lives and breathes it, is really makes it an easier solution, and, you know, to bring us into the table, because we know exactly what we're doing. We're not outsourcing it to lots of different vendors. We have our own employees around the world. And really, as you've mentioned before with Park Place, since 2018, they've really been on a strategic roadmap of innovation and bringing these brands together, because that's what the customer wants, right? The customer loves the maintenance. They love the manage. They love the hardware. So now what they're seeing is I'm pretty much selling the solution. It naturally goes over to Joe's team. I'm bringing in PS when we're deploying, having them put it into the environment. I'm taking out the gear that they don't want anymore. I'm refurbing it. Joe's running maintenance on it. There's this end to end. So really the risk for the IT and the procurement team is really small because they have one throat to choke. They know exactly who's going to be responsible on the other end. And they're dealing with a global brand that has made the investments in order to support the need of our customers. And like Joe said, we don't take any request or customer issue lightly. It's a big deal. We know that when they make a choice to go with us, it's a big deal of trust, and we'll never lose that with them. And so that's kind of what I think is probably the most exciting, is the brand is really well positioned, especially now, to deliver and come through for our customers.
So let me ask you this, right? It seems to me that, and I don't know, maybe this is just me throwing it out there, that the IT organizations of the world, if given first choice, are always going to go OEM, right? And the procurement people have a much more rational thought process of, hey man, if I can buy a used car for half the price of a new car, and it still gets me from point A to point B, which meets your business requirements, then I think I've done something exceptional there. So procurement and sourcing people tend to have a different strategy. One of the keys for procurement people, though, and sourcing people, IT technology sourcing people, is building that business case against or to show an alternative sourcing strategy to the office of the CIO or even the CFO. Is a lot of what you do, because look, we're getting questions about, and I knew we were going to get it, about how do you get over the fear of maintenance and support upgrades associated with secondary market equipment, right? So how do you help people, how do you help procurement people who are very interested in going down this path to fill the need from a supply chain perspective? Do you spend a lot of time helping people build business cases from a procurement perspective to help offset the potential demand from IT? And I'll let whoever wants to go first. Joe, you want to go? You want to tap into that, or you want Sachi to go first?
Well, I'll take it, and then I'll toss it over to Sachi. From the concern perspective, I'll address that. You know, we test every part that we put into anybody's systems. So in our warehousing locations, we have test locations as well. The latest one we opened is in Westboro, Massachusetts. I would call that a test floor, is a data center quality test floor. And so everything that comes through the door goes into that test room. It gets tested. If it's not up to OEM standards, in fact, we go beyond that. And when we're doing our testing, we make sure that it fits. It's got form, fit, function, as well as, you know, duration, burn-in time, etc. Even though we buy them from vendors who say they test them and will send us test reports, we still go that extra mile. We do not want to risk any type of trust issues with our customers. So we won't put a part on site unless it's been tested again. And why that's so important is because, you know, we're not harvesting from an ITAD business and just bringing it to a site and saying, well, here, let's put it in and see what happens. And that helps the business case, because there is that fear of what's going to happen if it's in the secondary market. What am I getting for, you know, for those parts? And we do help, by the way, we do tours as well, but we also help either the CIO or the procurement folks walk through and understand all of the different steps that we take. We also have an R&D lab in there, so that a lot of our monitoring, our proactive monitoring, is as good, if not better, than the OEM solution. One thing I'd say about that is we have a broad-based solution that covers everything, not just one product. So from that fear factor perspective, I think we can address that. And I'll let Sachi talk about the business case aspect of it.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joe. So actually, you know, my take on it's slightly different. And the reason why, Michael, is that obviously procurement, their number one priority is cost saving. Like I said, my background is supply chain and logistics. That's what you live for, right? But in our model and the way we work with our customers, it has to start at the engineering floor with the engineering talent. And the reason why is that they're the ones who are going to decide. They're the ones who get fired for making decision to go with Curvature instead of the OEM. Right? It's kind of our tagline. You'll never get fired for choosing the OEM, and they never celebrate the savings that, you know, you're bringing to the table. That was 15 years ago. I'll tell you, in the last 10 years, because of the internet and just the savviness of our engineers, they know the market. They know the pre-owned market and they know exactly what's a good fit for their environment. So they're typically the ones driving the hybrid solution that they're putting forward, right? Everyone's focused on switches and what things are. It's amazing to me, especially when I used to run the maintenance organization for Curvature, how many environments are so outdated on iOS. It's crazy. High-end production environment floors have the first generation release of an iOS 8 years later. Right. That's the dirty secret, is it takes a tremendous amount of time to do those upgrades. There's a lot of movement going on. You have to bring the environments down to do so. Right. And so what we really suggest to our clients is when they're coming to us, we always check the technical box first. Savings is a given, right? When you're coming to us, there's no question that you're going to save money. But what we're going to tell you is if it's a true fit or not. And so we'll run the diogs, we'll let you know what environment, how you're using it, what's the product being released. We know everything about the entire networking stack at Cisco and how it performs, because we have to know that in order to make sure that we're suggesting the right environments for our clients, right? And so some environments have to stay edge. They need latest and greatest. The environment's too unstable, to be candid, right? I have gone through so many deployments, even a new edge equipment deployment where it's buggy for the first year. You'll know how it is, right? We'll say that is not a good fit, right? Until that environment gets stable, that's when we really want to come in and do that. What you're finding though too, Michael, is that everyone looks at high production, but if you think of the entire environment that an IT engineer has to be responsible for, it goes from basic redundancy to an office, back office, or a store or retail chain to high production data center, right? We cover all of it. And so really the strategy we're putting forward is, hey, open that conversation up with Curvature. Let us see how we can help you, and we'll guide you in exactly the right way that you want to be. We often find customers that'll come in and say, okay, I'm not ready to give you my core one data center site, but I'm going to give you these 3 redundancy locations to see how you do. We do that. We refresh it. We create environment. We create redundancy. We have maintenance there where they're monitored, they're managed. They feel comfortable. You'll find that we're right in their production environment right away. And so, and that's the kind of relationship we like to build.
Great. Listen, we're at 30 minutes. I'm going to keep going a little bit longer because we do have some great questions. I want to get to them. No one seems to be leaving, so I'm throwing out the theory that 30 minutes is enough time for people. Everybody seems to be glued in here, which is great because it's a fantastic conversation. Let's jump into a couple of quick questions for you because I have them, and I think you did a great job. I was going to ask a question a little bit about where are we seeing success and what types of organizations are positioned to actually take the most benefit out of that. But I think you just kind of told me what that is, which is, hey, don't come to me in the first year. Come to me after your environment's stable. Come to me when you need some financial support, but come to me when you understand. And if you want to ask questions about how do we keep that up, how do we make sure that you're on the latest and greatest mate patches and hardware, and how Joe's going to support you from plug and play on individual component levels, we can have that conversation. But again, I think what I heard you say was, every need in every environment is different, and because of that, once we investigate and talk to you, we can figure out which levers to pull and which not to pull. And in all cases, we're not a fit for everything, but in a lot of cases, we can help drive down costs and keep stability and offset some of your supply chain risk that you have in the place right now of missing, like you said, nobody ever got fired for buying OEM. Well, OEM and lead days of 120 days really isn't an answer for supply chain people right now, right?
Yeah, and
so
one of the major verticals, Michael, is healthcare, right? And so I see a couple questions around security and how are we addressing that and how are we dealing with it? It really depends on the product line and the offering, right? As you saw on that slide you showed before, we cover pretty much 80% of all the brands that are out there. But let's just focus mainly on Cisco, because I'm sure the audience, they want to understand that and they want to know what's there. Depending on the particular equipment that you're running, right? 4,500 and below, those are publicly available, and those are available softwares. We don't change software on product. We buy and procure product with the latest and greatest software. That is a #1 thing you need to know about Curvature. We don't touch it, move it, manipulate it. It is what it is as it was manufactured, or what it is that's coming out of the excess channels as an upgraded software or a stable iOS that's preferred. That's how you'll receive equipment from us. And that's how you kind of deal with it. When it's, and then when it goes under support, If it's publicly available and ready to do that, you're able to do that too. But a lot of those environments aren't being changed or moved or manipulated too much. If they're looking for edge, latest and greatest, that's got to stay under SMARTnet, and that's not a fit for us. But we can definitely help you with SMARTnet eligible devices, meaning we'll sell you the hardware and then we'll partner with a VAR that can put the SMARTnet on that. So we also are able to do that as well.
We had a question around leasing as well.
Yeah.
Leasing in the primary first use space versus leasing in the secondary space. Is that a viable option for me as well, as far as creatively financing some of this?
It is, but really for us, I mean, obviously because of our discounting and the product that we sell, it's so affordable that a leasing opportunity, we do have leasing clients, but it's got to be for large infrastructure, for a good volume of equipment that's going out. Otherwise, it's just not. It's not worth our time, and candidly not worth yours either. But what you do see with us is that we'll often come in and do a big refresh. We'll take out what you have. We'll offset that cost with a trade-in. And then you can decide if you want to lease. But I think you'll find the pricing is so competitive and so affordable that you typically, most of our customers will ask for that initially, but they'll end up just doing a buyout.
Yeah, and it really depends on what your CFO wants right now, right? Like where he wants to manage his cash flow and things like that. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of organizations that are deploying this strategy, this isn't a stopgap any longer, right? I mean, we talked about this in the pre-read, which was, hey, listen, people started using this as a stopgap because they thought this was all going to go away and they didn't see the back end supply chain issues that Joe was talking about earlier. But now acquiring products that are, a little bit older in age, but still have the functionality and can be upkept by organizations like yourself. This no longer is I'm just going to use this as a business continuity blowout strategy for now. This is becoming the new norm, and a portion of people's budgets are actually being carved out into this type of a sourcing strategy, as opposed to just, all right, I'm just going to go buy a new box every 3 to 4 years, like I've had it drummed into me for the last 3 decades.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm seeing too, Michael, is a lot of these large verticals like logistics, airlines, they've got hit really hard.
Right.
And, even a large client like Ticketmaster, right? They've not recovered. And so they're not coming to the table with, hey, I'm just back on a tear. Even our gaming industry clients, everyone is trying to optimize, get what they need done, and recover still economically. So this is not a quick stopgap for hardware and just supply chain. This is, I've got to find $3 million of savings in 2022, and I needed to actually show savings in maintenance and support and manage and monitoring 5 years from now. What can you do? That's very different. And I think that trend is also going to be what we'll continue to see, which is really a nice position for Park Place as a brand is, not only are we dealing with these quick, immediate wins in hardware, but what we're really starting to see is there's a lot of unknown of the future. Next 5 years and kind of the climate of the economy and where things sit, where we saw a lot of growth was in North America. Asia is still really dormant. Latin America is dormant. Europe is dormant. They're just starting to come online. Like, it was amazing to me that my European customers were like, wait a minute, there's a supply chain shortage. Cisco's quoting 6 months on a 9200 Catalyst line. And we're like, where have you been all year? Like, they really
Did you take the holiday season off? Have you been in a bunker? What's going on?
They're just living. I mean, our staff is still remote and they're going in and out of lockdown. And it's interesting. This pandemic is global. The way each of these markets are handling it are global. I was with my Asia team last night. They're very conservative. And all the companies are very conservative. This is not a quick sourcing strategy. This is, how are you going to help me win back all the lost revenue I've had over the last 2 years? And how can we partner to make sure I get what I need, but do it more affordably?
Listen, every indirect dollar that you don't spend is something that you can spend on saving somebody's job or putting it towards margin, right? It's interesting that you mentioned something about South America and Latin America being dormant, because just to prove the ROI of your investment in Procurement Foundry, there is a note in the notes, if you haven't seen it. Jim Cross wants to get in touch with you. He's got a very large client that's looking for an equipment refresh. Sorry, I didn't see it. It's Philippines, Guatemala. So apparently South America and Latin America is starting to heat up. Maybe there's a lead for you inside of the chat as well.
That's great.
All right, I'm going to wrap. I'm going to try to wrap, because if not, we'll go for 2 hours. I know we have more time set up to talk more about this in the future with you, because this is a very, very intriguing part of IT sourcing and technology sourcing that I think really people need to start to think of mainstream. This isn't a, oh yeah, I worry about this occasionally and I'll do this just for my business continuity equipment. This is live production equipment opportunity savings now that I think is a real viable long-term strategy. Oh, by the way, the recording, somebody asked the recording will be live. It's embedded inside of our LinkedIn feed. You can go back and watch it from the beginning. And we also put links inside of Procurement Foundry so that you can go to it. And we now have a post-event library on our website that you can go to and watch this post-event. All right, I'm going to start to wrap up. One takeaway, if there's, from all of your experience right now, there's a bunch of IT technology sourcing people in the room. What is the one takeaway you want to leave them with to go forward with, Joe, based on this topic?
Well, I would say the one thing is to challenge your IT organization to, look beyond the OEMs and understand what the TPM market offers, understand what the, hardware offerings are from Park-Place, because, it will make them aware of the savings that they can bring to the company, and may get you some recognition along the way.
My
Great.
takeaway is you guys have a solution with us and we're here to help. And it's been really wonderful to be able to do a lot of great things for customers all through this year, but candidly in the 15 years I've been here, but this year in 2021 was really remarkable. I mean, I've had so many high, like executive level conversations with CFOs and CTOs saying, wow, you just saved us $2 million. Like, I didn't even know who you were. And so we are here, we're happy to help you. And I promise you that we're a solution that you definitely want to look into further.
Yeah. So I'll wrap that up with get curious. Listen, if this is a company that you've heard of and walked past their booth in the past at the trade shows and stopped in to get a squeezy ball or something like that I've done in the past, and even maybe conducted business like I did in my past life. This is, and I think Joe said it best, this is not your uncle's Buick. It's amazing to me the depth of service that you have. I think people need to get really, really curious about your company. And I think they need to get really curious about strategic alternative sourcing strategies that are going to lower your financial costs, improve your financial cash flow management, make you look smart to the CFO and the CIO at the same time. This is certainly one of those things. Let's wrap. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on today from Park-Place. Thank you so much to the folks from Park-Place, the senior leadership team, by seeing the value in investing in Procurement Foundry. And as I mentioned earlier, Park-Place is our newest permanent residence partner. So you'll be seeing quite a bit more of them. I think we've got 4 or 5 of these more scheduled. You're going to see them in thought leadership pieces associated with blogs and some other things, probably at our conferences as well. So thank you so much for your investment in us. And thank you so much for your thought leadership today in the third-party space and in the used equipment space, and also just in general, how better to financially manage your fiduciary responsibilities as a sourcing person in IT category management today. So I can't thank you two enough. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Great.
Thanks.
And if we didn't get to your questions today, just so you know, I've tagged Park-Place in all of the social posts. If you're in the Procurement Foundry, Park-Place now has their own channel inside of the Procurement Foundry. Please feel free to go to the Park-Place channel, ask them the questions there. I know there's a couple of folks from Park-Place that are monitoring that channel as well. And we'll try and get you all the answers that you want. Hey, listen, it's worth a conversation, 50 to 90%. If you're not having the conversation, you're doing yourself a misservice, all right? Yep. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Joe. And Sachi, please stay healthy and warm throughout the season. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye now, everybody.
Bye-bye.